A mother versus corrupt cops. The battle that shook the system. When a SWAT team storms Nicole Evans' apartment in a wrongful raid, she's arrested and her son is ripped from her arms. Branded a criminal with no proof, she uncovers a web of police corruption. With danger closing in and her son's life on the line, she has one shot to expose the truth before they erase her for good. The system is rigged against her. But this mother is about to become their worst time to react before the front door crashed open. The force shook the walls, knocking a picture frame onto the floor. Zion screamed from the couch, his small body shrinking into the cushions as men in dark uniforms flooded the apartment. Their voices collided, sharp and demanding. "Get down! Hands where we can see them!" Nicole raised her arms, but it didn't matter. Rough hands shoved her forward, her knees around her wrists before she could even form a sentence. "Mummy!" Zion's voice cut through the noise. He tried to run to her, but an officer stepped between them, pushing him back. Nicole fought against the cuffs, but another hand pressed her face down. The air smelled of dust and the sharp tang of fear. "What's happening?" Her words rushed out. "Please, my son, stay down." One of them barked. They weren't listening. Drawers clattered open, cabinets slammed shut. A lamp tipped over, rolling across the floor. Zion sobbed as his world collapsed around him. "This is a mistake." Nicole shouted, twisting her head to see past the boots and uniforms. They were destroying everything, tearing through her life as if she was nothing. Someone grabbed her arm, yanking her up. "Where are the drugs?" "What?" A bookshelf toppled. Clothes were thrown from the closet. Officers spoke into radios, their voices urgent. Nicole wasn't a criminal. She worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table and a roof over Zion's head. The only thing hidden in this apartment was the stack of unpaid bills on the counter. "Please," she tried again, her breath uneven. "My son is scared." A man in a bulletproof vest glared down at her. "You think we don't know who you are? We have evidence." "No, you don't," she shot back. "Because I didn't do anything." He nodded toward the door. His expression didn't change. "No, Mommy." Zion's voice cracked, his tiny arms reaching for her as another officer pulled him away. Nicole fought, twisting against their grip. "Don't take him." "Zion." "Baby, it's okay." It wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. The officers dragged her outside, past the neighbors peeking through their windows. The night air stung her skin. Flashing red and blue lights painted the street in police car, the door slamming shut before she could scream again. Zion's cries faded as they pulled away. Hours passed in a room that smelled like sweat and old coffee. The walls pressed in, blank and unforgiving. The detectives didn't offer water. They didn't tell her what time it was. They only asked the same questions, over and over. "Who do you work for?" "I told you, I work at a diner. And I clean houses on weekends." "There are no shipments." "Who gave you the shipment?" They exchanged looks. She saw the doubt in their eyes, the way they didn't believe her no matter how many times she repeated herself. A folder hit the table. "Your name came up in an investigation." Nicole's fingers curled into fists. "From who?" "That's confidential." She laughed, but it was empty. "So, someone lies, and you rip my life apart?" The taller detective sighed, "We can help you." His temples. She leaned forward, her heart hammering. "You want the truth? I work 16 hours a day. I barely sleep. I barely eat because my son needs every dollar I make. And now, thanks to you, I don't even know where he is." Neither of them spoke. She swallowed back the rising panic. "Where is he?" The shorter detective closed the folder. "He's safe." A sharp pain shot through her chest. "That's my child. He needs me. He's in protective custody. We're looking into things." The words nearly knocked the air from her lungs. "Protective from what?" "From me? You took him from his home and dumped him with strangers. He's just a baby." More silence. Then the taller one stood. "You're free to go." Nicole blinked. "What?" "Your lawyer confirmed you have no record." "We didn't find anything." It was a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. As if they hadn't just destroyed her home. Somewhere without her. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Where is my son?" "You'll have to go through the system." System. The word felt like a prison. She wasn't getting him back tonight. Maybe not even tomorrow. Maybe not for weeks. Nicole walked out of that station with nothing but the clothes on her back. Zian's favorite stuffed elephant was still sitting on the couch, waiting for him to come home.
Nicole returned to the apartment,
but it wasn't home anymore. The door still hung loose from its frame. Inside, the mess left behind by the police was untouched. Drawers emptied. Furniture overturned. Zian's school drawings trampled under heavy boots. The silence felt heavier than the destruction itself. Every sound, every sudden knock sent her heart racing. Days passed before she was allowed to see Zion. He sat across from her in a sterile visitation room, his eyes dull, his hands clenched in his lap. He wouldn't speak, wouldn't reach for her. The light in him had dimmed. "I'm here, baby," she whispered, but he didn't answer. Determined to fight back, Nicole visited lawyer after lawyer. Some dismissed her immediately. Others heard her out before politely refusing. No one wanted to take on the police. No one wanted to go against the system.
The officers who
The
destroyed
news
her
her
life
life faced
silent.
no consequences. Each door she knocked on shut in her face. Then she met Andre Lawson. He was a journalist, sharp-eyed and relentless. "I believe you," he told her. "And I think this is bigger than you know." He started digging, and what he found made her stomach turn. Wrongful raids. Families torn apart. Innocent people accused with no proof. And each case buried, forgotten, erased. Then came the threats. Phone calls with no voice on the other end. A final warning. Let it go. Her landlord tried to evict her. Her boss placed her on unpaid leave. Everything was crumbling. Someone wanted her to disappear. But Nicole wasn't backing down. She had lost too much already. And she would not lose Zion. Then the unthinkable happened. A court order accused Nicole of child endangerment. Her fight to bring Zion home had just become a battle for her own credibility. Now swarmed, but they weren't on her side. Headlines painted her as reckless, unstable. The mother who put her son in harm's way. Andre kept digging, and that's when he found it. The raid was never a mistake. The anonymous tip had come from within the police department itself. A cover-up in motion. The more they uncovered, the more dangerous things became. Then, one night, an unmarked SUV ran Nicole's spinning, tires screeching against the pavement. The airbag exploded against her face as the car came to a stop, smoke curling from the hood. Dazed, she forced herself to move, scrambling out of the car just in time to see the SUV speed away, its taillights disappearing into the darkness. Shaking, she pulled out her phone and dialed Andre. No answer. She tried again, pounded as she made her way to his office, her mind racing with possibilities. When she arrived, her stomach clenched. The door was ajar. Inside, the place was torn apart, papers strewn across the floor, desk drawers emptied, chairs overturned. A coffee mug lay shattered near the entrance. Andre was gone. Nicole stepped carefully inside, searching for any clue, any sign of what had happened.
His notes, files,
His
on
laptop
Wrongful was
raids,
missing.
police corruption were either destroyed or missing altogether. Someone had taken him, or worse. A crumpled piece of paper caught her eye. She picked it up, unfolding it with trembling fingers. It was a handwritten note in Andrew's scribbled handwriting. "If anything happens, don't stop. Keep fighting. Find the truth." A shiver ran through her. She wasn't imagining it. Someone was trying to silence them. Her phone buzzed, then answered. An unknown number. A distorted voice spoke on the other end. "Walk away, Nicole, or you'll never see your son again." The line went dead. Nicole's grip tightened around the phone. They wanted her afraid. They wanted her silent. Nicole was now completely alone. No lawyer, no journalist, no one left to turn to. Every step felt like walking into a trap, eyes watching her from every shadow. The sense of being followed had shifted from paranoia to certainty. Then her apartment was broken into again. Nothing was taken. No valuables, no cash, no electronics. Just a mess left behind, a warning. They wanted her to know they could reach her anytime. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She let it ring. A minute later, a text appeared. "You're making a mistake. Let it go." Ignoring it, she opened her laptop, her fingers trembling. A new email sat in her inbox. No sender. No subject. She clicked it open. Deep breath, she hit play. Video file. Grainy body cam footage filled the screen. Officers storming into an apartment, her apartment. Their voices echoed. "She's not the one." Wrong unit. A pause. Then another voice. Doesn't matter. Make it look good. One of them pulled a small bag from his pocket, dropping it behind the couch. Another knocked over a lamp before turning off the camera. Nicole's breath caught. Proof. Then a sound outside.
Nicole grabbed her
Sirens.
laptop. They were
Shoving
coming
it
for
into
her.
her bag. No time. No way out through the front. She turned toward the back door just as pounding shook the walls. She had to run. Nicole's breath came fast as she fled through the alley, her bag tight against her body. The video was all she had left. She needed help, someone with power, someone who knew how the system worked. There was only one person. Her father. Samuel Evans hadn't spoken to her in years. He had walked away before Zion she could turn to now. She found a burner phone and dialed his number. He picked up after 3 rings. Nicole? His voice was wary, aged. She hesitated. I need help. Silence. Then a sigh. Where are you? An hour later, they met at an abandoned lot. He looked older, his face lined with regret. But when she showed him the video, his expression darkened. This is bigger than I thought, he muttered. They won't let this slide.
I just want Zion back.
I don't care, he nodded.
She said.
Then we go public. Nicole's hands shook as she uploaded the footage. It went to news outlets, advocacy groups, social media. Within hours, the internet caught fire. The hashtag spread, #JusticeForZion, #EndPolishCorruption. The footage played on every major network. Protests erupted across the city. The mayor was forced to respond, calling for an investigation into the police department. Then her phone rang. An unknown number whispered, "We have your son." Her heart stopped. The line went dead. Nicole turned to her father, her breath catching. They have him. Samuel didn't hesitate. We find out where. They worked fast. Samuel reached out to old contacts. A friend inside the department sent him an address, a warehouse on the outskirts of town. Nicole drove through the night, gripping the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Samuel sat beside her, he ordered as they pulled up to the warehouse. Nicole ignored him and stepped forward. The building loomed ahead, its metal walls rusted. A single light flickered above the entrance. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Inside, Zion sat on a chair, his hands tied in front of him. His eyes went wide when he saw her. "Mommy!" Nicole ran toward him. A gun cocked. Not so fast. A man stepped from the shadows, his badge gleaming under her world apart. Nicole's hands clenched. "Let him go." The officer smirked. "You made a mistake, Nicole." Samuel raised his gun. "No, you did." Chaos erupted. A shot rang out. Nicole lunged for Zion, shielding him as Samuel fired. The officer hit the ground, groaning. "Go," Samuel shouted. Nicole grabbed Zion and ran. More officers stormed inside. Samuel held them off as she fled into the night. Her son's the rescue was everywhere. The city erupted in outrage. The department was under investigation. Officers were suspended. Arrests were made. The moment Nicole had Zion back in her arms, she promised herself that nothing, not threats, not fear, not even the corrupt system, would stop her from exposing the truth. She had fought too hard, sacrificed too much, to let them silence her now. In the evening, as she sat in Samuel's safe house, her phone buzzed again. She hesitated, then answered. "You got what you wanted," the same cold voice murmured. "Now let it go." Nicole's grip tightened around the phone. "You kidnapped my son." A low chuckle. "And we gave him back, didn't we?" Her stomach twisted. They weren't scared, not yet. "You're going to pay for what you did." The voice hardened. "This is your last chance, Nicole. Walk away. Or next time, there won't be a Nicole give him back." Sharply and slammed the phone onto the table. Samuel watched her. "They're playing their last card." She met his gaze. "And I'm not folding." The pressure from the public was overwhelming. The footage of Zion's abduction had spread just as fast as the raid video. There were protests outside police headquarters, demands for an investigation, calls for resignations. And then, finally, the state ordered an emergency hearing into the wrongful raids and the kidnapping allegations. Nicole was summoned to testify. She knew this was her only chance to tell the world everything, to put the people who had destroyed her life on trial. But she also knew the risk. If she took the stand, they would come for her again. Maybe not with threats. Maybe not with kidnappings.
Before the mirror the night before the hearing,
staring at her reflection. She was exhausted, bruised, but still standing. And she wasn't afraid anymore. "You ready for this?" Samuel asked from the doorway. She turned. "I have to be." The courtroom was packed. Reporters lined the walls. Protesters chanted outside the courthouse steps. The entire country was watching. Nicole took the stand. The state attorney
Evans,
questioned her
can
first.
you describe
What happened the night of the
Ms.
raid? She spoke clearly, detailing the terror of the invasion, the destruction, the way Zion had been ripped from her arms. Then she described the threats, the framing, the kidnapping. Finally, she turned to the judge. "They didn't just come after me. They came after my child, and they'll do it again unless we stop them." Gasps rippled through the courtroom.
lawyer representing
Then
the
it was the
police
defense
department
stepped
turn.
forward. "Ms. Evans, isn't it true that you have a history of financial instability?" Nicole stiffened. "What does that have to do with this case? You were evicted from your home after the raid, correct? You lost your job?" She swallowed. "Yes." The lawyer nodded. "So, could it be that you are using this case to seek financial gain? Maybe to cover your losses?"
Nicole's
A
hands
murmur
clenched under the
spread through the
table.
courtroom. "No, I am here because what happened to me wasn't just a mistake. It was a crime." The lawyer tried again. "You have no physical evidence proving officers were responsible for your son's abduction, do you?" Nicole's breath caught. They had covered their tracks well. No security footage, no witness statements. Just her word against theirs. She glanced at Samuel. He gave her a slight nod. And she understood what she had to do.
You're right.
"I don't have
Nicole leaned
evidence."
forward.
The lawyer smirked. "But someone else does." The courtroom fell silent. She reached into her bag and pulled out a USB drive. "This contains audio from a police radio frequency on the night Zion was taken. It was intercepted by someone inside your own department. It proves they coordinated his abduction." The lawyer's face paled. Nicole handed the drive to the judge. The courtroom erupted. That night, the first arrests were made.
Two high-ranking
The
officers
police
were
chief
charged.
resigned. Whistleblowers within the department started speaking out. More evidence surfaced, documents showing years of corruption, fabricated charges, and cover-ups. Nicole had won, but it came at a cost. Andre was never found. His name faded from the headlines, another missing person swallowed by the system. The legal battle stretched on for years, dragging Nicole through endless depositions and trials. And Zion, he was safe,
some nights.
but he wasn't the same. He flinched at loud noises. He clung to Nicole like she might disappear at any moment. She had gotten him back, but she could never give him back the innocence they had stolen. One evening, as she tucked him into bed, he whispered, "They won't take me again, right?" Nicole smoothed his hair. Never. She wished she believed it. The system had tried to silence her. It had tried to break her. But she refused to be a victim. She fought and she won.